Welcome back to another episode of Marketing Champions. I'm your host, Jerica Manzi with Daily Ad Brief, and I'm excited to bring onto the show John Hornsby with Hornsby Creative. Welcome to the show, John.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Jerica.
Perfect. So what is the biggest change in marketing that you see coming within the next 2 years?
I think that we'll probably see some interesting wrestling matches around data and the use of data, third-party data, data sovereignty, and kind of a struggle that will go on between users owning their data and companies owning their data. That's not a space that I'm really in, but it is something that I find interesting that I'm curious to see how that's going to play out in the next couple of years.
Perfect. And what is your favorite advertising campaign that you have created for a client or participated in?
We recently helped rebrand a initiative for the Asheville United Way. They have been in place for 100 years, and they have a big, bold vision for the next 100 years to work with everyone in the community to create the possibility for everyone to thrive. And we were fortunate enough to be able to work with them on branding that campaign. So that included, logo, it included style guide with photo and video direction, icons, social media templates, kind of the whole works. And we were really excited to work on that project.
Perfect. Yeah, that does sound exciting. And so what makes your company unique?
Well, a couple things. One thing, we, back when the pandemic first hit, or a couple months into it, we launched a service called Connection Kits. And what we did was we sort of combined our experience with design and marketing and events specifically, and the need in the community with everyone having to adapt to transitioning to events in a virtual format, and the disconnect that came there between, sponsors perhaps not seeing as much value in their investment, harder to reach the attendees in the same kind of way that they did in person, attendees being disconnected from each other, and then, of course, the programming and speakers. So we started working with communities and events and conferences that had to make that transition to virtual and put together kits of engaging content and activities that sort of combined a little bit of like a swag bag, a little bit of direct mail components, and a little bit of facilitation, as well as just like fun and feel good ness into it. And we'd put together kits and put them in boxes like this and send them out to people's houses in conjunction with a virtual event. And that got a lot of traction. We've been really excited to be able to kind of show up in that way in the past year.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love, you gotta be unique in the space and be adaptable. So, and what is the biggest obstacle you had to overcome in your business?
Probably my own bad habits. I can have a tendency to overthink. I can have a tendency to try and do everything myself. And so, figuring out where to best put my energy, when to delegate, what to delegate, that has been, probably the biggest thing I've had to work on in my career, is kind of managing my own sort of perfectionism and, maybe a little bit of control issues, to really work with putting together teams to get things done, because that's when you can really do interesting things, is when you're, working together with a team. So, this past year has been full of its own kind of unique challenges with COVID and everything. But personally, I would say that's been my biggest challenge.
Perfect. And what % of advertising service offerings does traditional media buying make up for your company?
We don't do a lot of media buying at our company. We do more branding, strategy, experiential design. We are really into experience, and even more so on the analog side than the digital side. So we tend to partner with other professionals who their expertise is in that, digital media buying space, and kind of refer things back and forth that way.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, John. It was a pleasure talking with you.
You as well. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Marketing Champions. If you'd like to learn more about John, please head to dailyadbrief.com and we'll see you next time.